Today we're going to talk about a few things. The first thing is blood pressure targets. The second thing is treatments for blood pressure targets. When we talk about blood pressure targets, we talk about two different things. We talk about systolic blood pressures and we talk about mean arterial pressures. Systolic blood pressure is the force at which the heart contracts. Mean arterial pressure is the average pressure in the arteries during one cardiac cycle. So most of our monitors figure mean arterial pressure for us. But if we want to get the mean arterial pressure, let's say on a manual blood pressure, mean arterial pressure, or MAP, equals 1/3 times systolic blood pressure minus the diastolic blood pressure plus diastolic blood pressure. So our target MAP is between 70 to 100 millimeters of mercury. If we get below 65 millimeters of mercury, it's bad. And if we get under 60 millimeters of mercury, it's really bad. And at 60 is where we start treating it to try and reach a goal of between 65 and 70. Now, how can we do that? There are a number of ways, and our protocols have just changed to give us a lot of great options. We have dopamine infusions. We have norepinephrine infusions, or Levophed. And then we have epinephrine. And the way we're using epinephrine is in two different methods. We're using an infusion, so a drip, and then we're using push, dose, pressors. Now, push dose pressors are not meant to be a long-term solution to a low MAP. They are meant to give the patient a bump so that you can resuscitate them for a short term. And by resuscitate, I mean get that blood pressure up so that they don't go into cardiac arrest. Give you enough time to prepare that drip so that you can keep their blood pressure and their mean arterial pressure up. So we give 20 to 30 micrograms of Epi 1 to 100,000 every 5 minutes to achieve a MAP of 65 to 70, or if we're not calculating MAP, to achieve a systolic blood pressure of 80 to 90. So how we make push dose pressors is very simple. We take our Epi 1 to 10,000. We burn off 9 milliliters of it, leaving us with 1 milliliter in the syringe. We attach it to a 3-way stopcock with a 10 ml saline flush. You turn the off position where the patient end would be. And then you push 9 mLs of saline into the Epi 1 to 10,000 vial. And now you have a push dose pressor of Epi 1 to 100,000. And so the last thing you do is you take a piece of tape and you label. And you put your initials, the date, and then the time. And then you put that on the syringe. And that way, anybody who picks that up knows that that is Epi 1 to 100,000 mixed by me, today's date, at today's time. And then, like I said, you administer 2 to 3 mLs every 5 minutes to maintain a MAP of 65 to 70 or a systolic blood pressure of 80 to 90 millimeters of mercury. I'm getting everybody ready to cringe and turn this off. We're going to talk about MedMath, IV infusions in particular. So the first thing we're going to talk about is epinephrine infusions. Epinephrine infusions are not very complicated. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are the same dose, 2 to 10 micrograms per minute, and they are preferred over dopamine for shock. The MedMath is the same for both. You're going to take your desired dose, divide it by your concentration on hand, multiply it by 60, and that's going to equal your milliliters per hour. Now, your milliliters per hour is the same as your drops per minute with a 60 drop set, or your milliliters per hour with a dial-a-flow. For anybody who hasn't seen a dial-a-flow, this is what it looks like. It's a dial that you put on a 10 drip set that you turn, and it infuses in milliliters per hour. Now, the important thing to remember is that you need a large, stable vein with at least a 20 gauge catheter. I do not recommend putting it in the AC because those kink off. You need to have a vein that's flowing very freely and without intermittent. Now, to make an epi drip, you simply take your vial of epi 1 to 1,000, your syringe, and your filter needle. You break off your top. You take your full 1 ml out. You put it in the injection port of the bag. You invert the bag 2 to 3 times. And then, just like we did with the push dose pressors, you label. This is now epi 1 to 100,000. And date, initials, and time. And there you have it. That's an epi drip. So, last but not least is our dear friend dopamine. It is important to note we have 2 different concentrations of dopamine. We have 1,600 micrograms per ml and 3,200 micrograms per ml. We carry both. For this discussion, we're going to be talking about the 1,600 micrograms per ml. So let's talk about calculating dopamine drips. It's dose times kilograms times 60 over your concentration which gives you your milliliters per hour. And that's equal to your drops per minute with a 60 drop set, or your milliliters per hour with a dial-a-flow. Now let's see what that looks like worked out. So it's 5 × All right. So we have 5 micrograms per minute times 75 kilograms times 60 minutes over 1,600 micrograms per ml equals 18.75 mLs per hour. So that'll either equal the 18.75 or 19 drops per minute with the 60, or the 19 mils per hour with the Dial-A-Flow. Now, a resource that I like for drip calculators is and I have no conflicts of interest that I need to disclose. I get no kickbacks or anything from them. This is just a resource that I like. Is mdcalc.com. They have just about every calculator on there that you can imagine that you would need. So, I hope that's a good refresher. And if you need anything, please feel to reach out to me. I hope everyone has a great weekend.